Mes amis, bienvenue. Tu vois, c'est la nuit, on est à la Louvre, on est en France et on est là pour le perspective académique. On est là pour regarder ce qu'on va faire pour le dernier moment, le dernière série. Et on va emmener notre chatcasters, Joshi et Mad Magical. Bienvenue mes amis, bienvenue, viens. On va commencer quelque chose. So, mes amis, my friends.
Hello.
You
It's me.
have something for me.
I do.
Tu as un award à
Award.
donner. Donc, Joshi, c'est quoi ton award que tu veux nous donner?
Well, I have an award I would like to give to somebody very dear to my heart. Let's see if we can get it on the screen. Let's see. It is going to be going over to Chad Jungle. Look at me. I'm the jungler now. We were talking about it all day long. Chad versus Kenby playing together on, well, not together, but 400 Thieves briefly, and we were asking whether or not this David versus Goliath, if Chad could take down the guy who he replaced at the end of summer 2021, if he was going to be able to hold a candle to somebody that we know has been looking really good. And I will say he met all of our expectations and blew right past them.
Bon, d'accord, le Chad Jungler. Ah, d'accord, Joshi, c'est un award, c'est bien fait. Je sais pas si... I don't know if it'll go in the Louvre. Mais on va voir. Magical, mon ami. C'est bien de te voir. C'est quoi ton award?
Alright, so I said I wasn't going to copy you, Josh, and I totally copied you. So...
oh my
so nice
god.
camp going over to Chad in that bot lane. So he gets the best camping I've seen in a while, where he just pretty much spent his whole time in the bot lane. And so yeah, Chad gets one.
Chad a un autre award. Ouais, d'accord. Je dois dire, Chad, 2 awards, je pense pas. I will give my own award. Okay?
Okay.
And I would... Une seconde, je dois le faire. Donne-moi une seconde. 1 second, please. 1 second. I'm just gonna draw
Okay.
an award really quick if I can. And the best. Yo, c'est là. C'est l'award LS. Et c'est donné à Pretty.
A pretty.
Et
Pretty Award.
Donc Pretty a l'award de LS parce qu'il a joué le Ivern. So, my friend Pretty, put that away in your trophy case. Donc, ça c'est fini. On a notre award. Je suis fini là. I have to go.
Okay.
Le Louvre est fermé. So, je vais aller.
It's closing?
Au revoir, mes amis. À bientôt, j'espère. Moi. À bientôt.
Omelette du fromage to you too. Alright, there we go. Our Frenchman is gone, but...
I told you who I was giving
know.
my award to. I can't believe you copied me.
I couldn't think of anything else, I'll be honest. I tried so hard. I was like, alright, who else can I give one to? What else can I do? And I'm like, all I could think of was Chad in that bot lane. From level 3 onward, pretty much, like I talked about before. The new concept, the Tryndamere into Gangplank, was going to be fine. Ready on the Ivern into Victor, it's staying safe. So where does he go? Bot lane.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's not often that we have a game where it has a undisputed main character the entire time, and I feel like Chad was absolutely the main character of this game from basically start to finish. There was a couple times where Joey had good opportunities, or Arrow stepped up, and I think he had like that one kill onto Jimmy, and where it was like, oh my gosh, the game might be over here. But other than that, it was like the Chad show the entire time, going forward, looking for plays to happen, and it was really surprising because it's not often that we see the members of 100 Thieves so quiet on the Rift, where they weren't necessarily able to make a whole lot happen. But a big part of it comes down to the fact that they had no tools to get anything to happen.
Here that we have our lovely host that we can bring back in for our final game of our first day of the Super Week.
Bonjour, I mean, sorry, I'm back. Hi. That was...
Hello.
I don't know where...
It's English time now.
What are you talking about? I don't know French. We, what a
okay.
game. I will say, to kick us off our last series of the day, to have a game go that way, and especially 100 Thieves not having the manifested dream that they would have wanted, and Immortals finally showing that live, showing why we had such promise for this team.
Yeah, I think when we start to look at it, we know that this Super Week was going to be rather difficult for them. Not only are they playing up against 100 Thieves, but they're also playing Cloud9 and Golden Guardians to round out the rest of the Super Week. So getting a win here against the team that is currently towards the top of the standings behind only CLG has to be a big confidence boost for Immortals thus far. I wasn't expecting it. I don't think other people were expecting it. And now they just need to see if they can recreate that success in the back half.
It's gonna be hard to do so, but you gotta find the things that work and execute on those things. And I think talking about execution, Chad and the rest of IMT Progressive did that.
Right.
Like, they were looking so good in control of the game.
And it pretty much just played, like, that composition played into their hands. They were able to get a good top side with that Tryndamere into the gangplank. Was able to constantly be able to move around the map early on so that he could get, and he wasn't able to get the early scuttlecraft, but he was able to steal away blue buff, which allowed Pretty to get in a free blue himself. And we saw how much attention that allowed Chad to focus on the bottom half of this map, to get Arrow ahead on that Aphelios, so he never really had to worry about the Caitlyn Lux. The laning phase, where normally that's the power that it has until a later game, was completely nullified.
And it makes it so hard to be able to play into, even when you feel like you have some decent pieces to respond to a lot of that. It's just so oppressive. And you saw how built up it was when they were in the siege position, and there was literally nothing that could be done about it.
You always got to look for ways to have some kind of forcing mechanism. You need to be able to create plays on your own terms, because if your opponents are winning and they don't need to make a play happen, they won't. You need to be able to manufacture fights on your own, and 100 Thieves were kind of missing that. But we do have something important happening. They are going to be on the red side of the map for our upcoming draft, and it does mean that Concept is no longer guaranteed his counterpick that allowed him to build an advantage against Gamsu.
Very true. I do want to hone back in, though, onto the interesting conversation that we started with at the beginning of this series, and it is that jungle conversation. Is checking back in on Kenvi versus Chad. You kind of mentioned it in the cast magical. It's like the mentor has been slain. What is happening here? And Chad coming through with a vengeance.
And it was actually kind of crazy, too, because you look statistically and how both these players have played on their respective champions. That was Kenvi's first loss, the split on Xinjiao. That was his third game, and it was a loss. For Chad, yeah, he's played the Lee Sin twice, but hadn't won a game until that point. They're saying that he was able to play it effectively. They really built this composition to facilitate and to allow Chad to play aggressively early on, that denied Kenvi even the potential to see if he can stop and mitigate any of that snowball potential out of Chad.
I think part of it, right? Chad was playing a lot of Viego in the first week when they were having success, but I think they've realized that even though the Viego is something that Chad is very comfortable on, his ability to just take new champions and play them all at once is very helpful. The Viego doesn't necessarily give them the most ability to be proactive early on in the game. Viego could not have made a lot of the plays that the Lee Sin did this game, and I think shifting over to that style and allowing it to be really far ahead with the Ivern suddenly made Chad feel really confident, because he's not playing to his lanes, he's playing for himself in some ways.
Yeah, and finding Chad that avenue, finding Chad those resources is what brought a lot of success to the early part of the season, and now what we're seeing bring them success now. And for 100 Thieves, right, it's about rekindling some of that essence we saw from them last week, that dominant streak from them, and be able to turn that around, and specifically looking at, how the lanes can affect this jungle matchup and how much communication is done early on in the game.
Yeah, and honestly, I kind of look at how a lot of that early pressure came in from Immortals, and I wonder what 100 Thieves can do to make sure they can deny that. Because we look at the bans, they took away Jarvan, they took away Viego on the blue side, and those are good picks to take away from Chad. But the Lee Sin still plays to that early game that we know Immortals like to play for. So if 100 Thieves want to go back to this more scaling composition, be able to try to see if they can, do well in the lane phase, but really get into the late game, you need to make sure they're denying every potential from Chad.
Yeah, exactly that. Well, we'll see what happens on our final game of the day. As guys, we're ready for the final champion select, so take it away.
Bye, Lennon. We'll see you after the game to close out our first day of our Super Week. But I'm excited, especially after that last game, seeing Immortals take down 100 Thieves. Now to see them swap sides and to see how 100 Thieves can bounce back, see if they can also topple Immortals.
Well, it is definitely the expected result, right? Even after that last game we just saw, it definitely feels like 100 Thieves should be favored going into our last game of the day. 100 Thieves have been looking really strong. They have a lot of powerful tools, and Wixie and Busio were kind of exposed in that last game as having clear weaknesses. And to their credit, this is not a bottom lane that has been playing together for nearly as long as a lot of the other bot lanes. Era and Joey have been here Magical has been here the entire time so far throughout the series, and if they can continue having that kind of performance with the support of Chad, we can definitely see why Arrow was rated so highly at the beginning of the season.
Now we are in to our champion select. Twisted Fate and Renekton banned away by Immortals with Jarvan and that Caitlyn now taken away by the side of 100 Thieves. Since it is the swap of sides, pretty much expect that red side Caitlyn ban. The Gragas actually being the final ban coming in from Immortals here. Last time it was Gwen. They took away, trying to make sure they can deny that from Gomstu and Zarya. Okay, I expected that to be the final ban from 100 Thieves too.
Jinx? Gwen? Oh, it is going to be the Gwen going over this time. Now, this is a little bit less common of a first pick, but still something that we are all used to seeing at this point. Has a very strong level 1 and scales quite well into the game. And, of course, you know, the meme at this point, Gwen is immune. Gwen is immune. What could you even do to this champion? The answer is not a whole lot, but it does mean that a power pick is going to be going over 200 Thieves in the Thresh and probably the
I'd
Jinx
expect that as well. That's what I'm... Oh, or the Aphelios for Wixie. Instead, they go for that Aphelios. So this is the, the classic pairing that we saw with Thresh before Jinx really started coming to the meta. But it gives up that Jinx for Arrow.
Oh, okay. Very... Going right on back to the Ivern, and it looks like 100 Thieves are trying to figure out what they can do against it, right? There is one way to play against enchanters where you just dunk on them really hard, you bring your jungler, and you try not to 2v2 them. The other way is you just kind of outscale them in some ways, right? The Ryze is able to kind of do a little bit of both. They have the lockdown for a potential Nidalee, and they also have the ability to scale later on into the game.
But I'm still looking at this Gwen. I'm still looking at where the Gwen possibly could go. Of course, top lane Gwen, that's always what's expected, but that's not really a concept champion, now is it? We've been seeing this Gwen kind of starting to move out of the top lane and a little bit more into the jungle role.
Yeah, I would not be surprised, and I was actually going to touch on that, right? Because we already see Chad hovering with the Ghost, and this Lee Sin ban is kind of implying to me that it is much more likely to be a Gwen in the jungle than it was to be something else, because the Lee Sin is something that Immortals could be threatening to pick up themselves and grab both Lee and Gwen, but when you're banning it away, it really limits the ability for both sides to go for any kind of powerful jungle, and Xin Zhao is kind of like the last one that is super top of the meta.
Xin Zhao or Viego, that's the other one that we can kind of see. I'd expect it to be the Xin Zhao picked up right now for Kenvi, but it's still one of those champions that, while the skirmishing is good, we look at Gwen and how great she scales into these games and how she's going to be a menace. You just talked about it. The Gwen is immune, and when you have stuff like a Thresh, like an Aphelios that struggle once that zone is laid down, what? All right.
Okay. That's it. That's a very different look coming in for Kenvi. We're going to be bringing the Kayn to the forefront, and this is, again, I haven't seen Malice play it just quite yet, but this is the Malice style of champion. I'm going to outfarm you, and I'm going to create pressure because I will just have more gold than you will. And so, look at this. Immortals going for a potential double enchanter style of composition as they are hovering the Lulu, and this creates... Oh, okay. All right, they switch up immediately towards the end. Yeah, it's going to be the Urgot that we haven't seen picked up for concept in quite a while. But it is very strong, has a lot of good matchups up in the top lane, and still gives them a lot of tools. The Ivern is kind of pseudo-engaged, right? You just hit one person, suddenly all your champions that don't normally have a gap closer suddenly have an extra one.
And still the Lulu looks like it is the possibility, and it is, in fact, the lock-in for Joey. The double enchanters buff up either Jinx, buff up either... Urgot or Gwen. They got a lot of tools to be able to keep safe when they look for these fights.
Okay, great stuff. I mean, you're putting a lot of pressure now onto Arrow. He's going to be the bulk of your damage throughout this game, and he's got double enchanters. He needs to be safe. He needs to feel strong during this entire thing. And as the Jace comes through, this is another champion that's not the easiest thing to play into the Urgot. You get stat checked through a large part of it, but Gamsu feeling really confident right now, and we'll see if he can actually overpower the fact that this matchup isn't the easiest thing in the world. You have to know that one of the most important interactions is when Concept goes in with the E, when he tries to get the flip onto Jace. If Jace gets the hammer and he's at the wrong range, yes, he will knock Urgot back, but it also knocks Jace back with you at the same time, and it ends up not really affecting Jace in a positive way.
The thing is, unless you're really confident in playing into Urgot, it's one of those weird champions to play against, especially with someone who is as proficient on the champion as Concept is. That's why we had to mention Concept with this unique champion pool, this different style that catches a lot of top laners off guard. The only difference is Gamsu is a seasoned player. He might seem newer because he has stepped away from the league scene for a while, but he is still a player who's been around the scene for a long time and knows how to play these matchups.
Yeah. That said, it's not a situation where Kenby is likely to offer a whole lot of help on this early game Gwen, right? There's not a lot of help from the Kayn, right? Early game Kayn doesn't do that much damage. You really need to get a couple of items underneath your belt, and Gwen can't really counter gank super effectively into the members of 100 Thieves. So it does create a situation where it's very difficult for Kenby to interact, and even if he does, it might get worse if Chad is also there. So it really leaves Gamsu and Concept kind of on an island that we always know top lane to be.
And we'll see how that will impact Gamsu, how that will impact Concept. The Kayn versus Gwen jungle matchup. We said it once, we'll say it again. The Master versus the Apprentice in Kenby versus Chad. A lot of exciting things going on here on the Rift for our final game of the first day. It is week 4, the Super Week, first of 2, where Immortals have the advantage 1-0 over 100 Thieves.
Well, we'll see what it is that they can do. Again, Chad got the upper hand last time around as the absolute main character of Game 1 of Immortals versus 100 Thieves, but now it is Kayn, and Kayn quite often is the main character whether he likes it or not, right? He's going to be a pivotal part of the members of 100 Thieves because he's a very selfish character. Kayn farms. Kayn goes for assassinations. Kayn sometimes builds, the red style and just keeps himself alive for long periods of time, but with the first strike, you're definitely expecting this to be a blue Kayn. The Shadow Assassin was much more focused on blowing up individual members, and his job is cut out for him against Jinx with double enchanters.
It'll be really difficult to actually kill Arrow. They have built up a composition to play around a hyperscaling ADC, such as Jinx and such as Arrow as a player. Well, in the early stages of the game, we'll see how 100 Thieves and battle back and deny that eventual scaling we know will happen for IMT is still a tall task to ask.
Well, we'll see if they are up to the task. And it is an opportunity right now. Arrow and Joey, everybody is already here. Arrow shows coming out of that bush, and it definitely, everybody knows where both supports is. It's just a matter of, are they playing forward? Are they playing back? And how will they actually find an opportunity? Joey misses the first glitter lance, but still going to be A-okay.
Still got to be cautious because a good hook or good play from Busio, either or, is going to be difficult when you're early into this game, having started glitter lance, no shield, no polymorph to dodge away from that engage that could come in from an Aphelios Thresh.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes comes from Aframu, and Smax is a big fan of this. He says it helped him climb his support ranks really effectively, is the way that Aframu thinks of winning enchanters versus engage supports, or even into Thresh, is the way that you win this is you walk up, you dodge the hook, and then you auto them twice. Right, and Joey tried to do just that, right? Look how far forward he is. I don't think they've seen what ability Busio has actually leveled just quite yet, and Joey willing to create that pressure, just saying, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm going to dodge the hook. I'm better.
And at the moment, it's seeming like Joey and Arrow are playing this one a little bit better, getting that advantage against Busio and Wixie with the level advantage, and eventually this wave to crash into the turret. Probably not going to have too much more. I'm really keeping my eyes on how this jungle is going to be impacted from not only the spot lane play that's happening for Immortals, but also the top lane, where we're seeing Gamsu get a bit of a shove into Concept.
For now, we can expect that is likely going to change based on how Concept ends up playing. As you get more points into your abilities, as you get towards level 9, it makes it much more difficult for Gamsu to walk forward just because of the raw damage output you do have. And Chad is going to be able to secure that using the smite because Kenvi gets it because Chad has already used his smite previously. But both of them, 24 CS, 6 camps apiece, and they're both chilling out in the bottom
Right now,
lane.
Pretty struggling a bit against Jimian in this mid lane, but Jimian taking the turret shot has equated things a little bit back towards Pretty. Not going to get bullied too much, even though it is the corrupting plot stacks for Jimian that allow him to play kind of aggressive against Pretty.
Yeah, Gamsu also going to be picking up this Scuttle Crab on the top side for the side of 100 Thieves, and that will make sure that they have a bit more vision to play with as the game goes a little bit longer. But Chad, he spent a lot of time down here in the bottom side in the previous game and is trying to recreate that, but not going to be finding anything right now, just mostly waiting for the rest of the camps to respawn. And you already see Kenvi pinging towards the Gromp on the top side saying, yeah, he should be right here, but Chad going to be a little bit delayed on that based on the fact that he spent more time down in the bottom lane.
Ooh, nice hook comes in from Boostio. The Zap, though, not disengaging. Instead, it's a polymorph with an exhaust on a Whiskey. And they're trying to see what they can get back on top of Arrow. But Arrow is putting back the damage on a Wixie, forcing him back underneath his turret, and now turning his attention onto Boostio. Flashes all across the board pretty much burned. The only ones are the ADCs who hold on to theirs.
Arrow probably had an opportunity, but he didn't quite recognize. I don't know if he realized that Wixie had already used the heal, but Kenvi looking for Pretty. He thinks he's safe.
On the other side with the shield on top of him. The flash in was not able to get the root, but the flash comes in from Kenvi for first blood.
Okay, he's super deep at this point, going to be healing, but Chad is on his way. I don't know if Chad's actually going to be able to lock him down. He just doesn't have enough crowd control.
And I don't think he even wants to fight the fact that Jimian's right behind him. Can easily show up, but with the TP coming from Pretty into this mid lane, and can be pretty far out, they could look to re-engage. They just got to be cautious on how they want to approach it.
Kenvi is going to be walking out of that one on the Kane, and it does mean that it is just a first kill. Pretty thought he was safe, but little did you know, wherever Kenvi is, he's always going to be looking for an opportunity to find these wins. And Concept, we saw this earlier, right? Remember in our first series where it was Gragas versus Renekton, and the Gragas just constantly pulling the wave back and making it difficult for the Renekton to play? This is a similar spot where Concept trying to create awkward positions for Gamsu in the lane, but Kenvi already here going to be trying to interrupt it and make sure that Concept can't freeze. And Concept has a difficult time freezing this anyway because he's Urgot. The shotgun knees hit the entire wave every single time they are
doing a good job thus far, making sure that it's staying right outside of that turret range. But the fact that Gamsu got TP'd back into it allows him to crash the minion wave back. As we turn our attention into some of these other lanes, with a bit of an advantage coming in from Kenvi getting that kill. Look what he's gotten. Gotten a nice little tier of the goddess for himself as opposed to trying to go for maybe just the more upfront burst damage initially.
Well, I mean, he still has the serrated Dirk, so he does have some damage.
Kenvi,
the problem
not
is,
Gamsu.
oh, Kenvi. Oh, that's. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we'll see how effectively he can actually go for a lot of these plays. The knockup comes through, and Joey's here.
They can follow this up, waiting for the glitter lance damage. There it is, and with the auto attack in the air, Pretty is able to get his own kill over Jimian.
Easy kill coming through. Jimmy has no flash, and the amount of crowd control between these two enchanters means you cannot leave, and they have enough shields to make sure that they never go down. And now, Kenvi level 6.
Against Chad inside the zone. There's going to be the Umbral Trespass, but it's only a little bit of damage because of the help of the Hollow Ground. The chase can come in, and there it is.
Mountain.
They've got the grenades on the other side. They've got a lot of damage on Boostio too. Kenvi has to completely bail from his team. This allows Immortal to turn their attention back onto the objective.
The Mountain Dragon auto attack slowing all of them down in the AoE was absolutely nuts, creating a large opportunity for IMT to move in. Unfortunately, they aren't able to get anything further, but the Dragon is going to be a worthwhile prize for the members of IMT. And as we see Chad starting to get towards his first item, it's going to be very difficult for anybody on 100 Thieves to really match him for a little while, because Kenvi going with this build will have a little bit more time necessary to scale up before he's just able to put out the same kind of raw damage. He needs to rely on dodging everything that Chad is going to put out.
Plus the fact that it was a Mountain Dragon, the first one of the game for Immortals, is going to be nice. Given that free resistances against this composition that's going to output a lot of damage, and with the enchanters, it allows them to survive a bit longer, to get more shields, to keep Arrow going in every one of these fights.
Arrow, yeah, he hasn't necessarily seen a whole lot just quite yet. And the thing to pay attention to is how the comms go and how confident Arrow will be feeling, because there are a couple comms that I really enjoy pulling out, but we might have to wait for that with Kenvi coming up towards the top side. Doesn't look like he has a great opportunity to go for this gank, but he can come through this wall and come
At
from
least he
behind.
wants to try. Concept is still going to be difficult to kill. Got himself already the steel caps to help get a little bit more resistance, and you can see that's the
Okay.
problem. Even with the poke coming in from Gamsu and Kenvi, it's not enough to really get through some of the resistance already picked up by Urgot.
The early plated steel caps make it very difficult.
Oh,
They get
Jimmy,
in.
and it's
They
just
have
the
the damage.
follow-up that can come in, and Daisy actually unleashing hell onto Jimmy in there. Makes it rough for this Rise to actually fight back against the Lulu and Ivern combo.
Yeah, Daisy messes you up, man. Just the amount of damage that Daisy is able to do, and with the knockup, looks really good. But Chad chilling out.
That's a
Everybody's here. He
flash
just goes.
Wild growth from Joey, the Rocket.
Rocket?
It gets him!
Oh!
Arrow from downtown!
There you go. Who needs to give kills over to the enchanters? You just give it over to Arrow from the other side of the map. That's easy money going right on over to Arrow. And once you suddenly get this Jinx ahead, it is impossible for the members of 100 Thieves to deal with it. They don't have the damage to get through all the shields that are going to come through. So expect early Serpent's Fang starting to come out from Kenvi and Gamsu here in order to make sure they have some way to at least have a way into the
What a
game.
rocket, man. What a rocket from Arrow there. Barely clipping Jimmy.
Hey, barely's good enough, man. This isn't horseshoes and hand grenades. You actually have to hit those arrows. Arrow does that and also gets the red buff, and the other one's still available for Chad. Now, that's a strategy that teams don't often practice or often think about, right? You have the Ivern mid, so you know that Ivern can go get them, but you don't oftentimes give the other one to your bottom lane.
No, and this is actually kind of the crazy thing about having Ivern mid lane and how it can function as a team. You're essentially getting double the buffs when you have Ivern. So he's free to get his own if he wants to be able to go get this red buff, or if you give him the blue buff, then you can grab a blue buff yourself. There's so much that you can play with this champion, and you know, I'm always critical about the Church of LS, but man, this is starting to make me a believer.
I mean, I still think it's interesting, right? There's still lots of play coming through because it does mean that Chad no longer has this red buff, and he's 2 levels down on
but
Kenvi.
Kenvi wasn't able to get the Umbral Trespass off on Chad. That's going to be the one thing that we kind of have to talk about, is that Chad has been attempting to look for these plays. Oh nice play,
no.
but Arrow did have Joey in his back pocket. There wasn't the recall completed by Joey.
Kenvi not around, no real way to make that play happen. Instead, just going to be trading a little bit of damage. But look at the vision control that 100 Thieves have already put on the side of Immortals. It makes it very difficult. Chad down 30 farm at this point. It's not going to get better just because he has nowhere to really
Look at
farm.
how pretty he's playing this. He's trying to bait in Jimmy because Chad is hanging out in that brush. Even if Jimmy has his own that he can steal away from Pretty, it's all about landing those roots so that Chad and Joey can follow up.
Chad needs to start finding experience elsewhere. The fact that he is falling this far behind Kane is actually really problematic, and part of why Cloud9 has found so much success is they just out-farm their opponents. With Kenvi now looking for Concept.
Has a level lead on both of them. He's going to be pretty difficult to actually kill with the TM at 2, but that Realm Warp should be able to help out back up with the knockback coming in from Concept, and they've got him rooted so Kenvi can get a second kill of the game.
It was close, kind of. Like, if they actually found the first part of the ultimate, they might have been able to do it, but that's a lot of people on the other side. This Rocket, I don't even think it gets a kill, right?
Wait
Even
a minute.
if it hits.
Oh, it hits.
It hits! So
but
that's cool.
It's still a lot of damage on Gamsu. Won't force him out of the lane, but definitely we're starting to see that damage coming in from Arrow.
True. Arrow on the far side of the map has the Kraken Slayer completed, doesn't need the movement speed coming out from the Gale Force. Instead, just going to be down here, and they're going to be giving over a lot of money to Chad and Arrow as this Rift Roller crashes for $500 going into the pockets of Arrow, and they should be able to back out and pick up this Hex Tech Dragon as well. And the extra movement speed, attack speed and cooldown reduction. You know what I mean. Anybody who's been playing this game, haze cooldown reduction, they will allow a lot more pressure to be coming out from Arrow because he just needs as much damage as possible. He doesn't need to buy any defensive items because he can rely on Joey
With
and
this
Pretty to
level
keep him
lead,
alive.
definitely keeping IMT in a bad spot. They're looking for the play on to Kenvi.
Chad
Bull
ults.
coming back in. Joey has to use the wild growth on himself, even with an exhaust. It's not going to be enough. That's a lot of shields, though, onto Joey to try to keep him alive as long as possible. The Umber Trespasser is going to be the kill for Jimmy, and with the kill onto Chad as well. Everything's going horrible for IMT as 100 Thieves are able to find the fight perfectly.
Chad has to be feeling a bit desperate, trying to go on to Busio, but not having the damage necessary, and he doesn't have enough power coming out from Joey when Joey is also getting attacked, and it ends up just being an overextension that now 100 Thieves is going to punish, right? They will earn their dragon, they get the Hextech Drake, and the attack speed and cooldown reduction will be going to them. But look how far Chad goes into this, looking for a way to actually kill Busio, and just kind of leaves Lulu to
Wait
do the
a minute.
wolves.
Right now, Concept. He's 1v1 in Gomsu. That's going to be the ult used. Fear becomes death. There's a little bit more damage, and he could pull him back. And that could be Concept getting a solo kill, even with the shield coming in from the Eclipse. It wasn't enough to be able to pull him back in with Fear becomes death, but he's got the damage to flip him over his shoulder for a shutdown.
One of these really tough matchups for Jay's Magical. Concept able to run him down. Just a small miscalculation coming out from Gomsu does mean that he dies. And the blue buff now giving over to Concept, going to be rushing towards that Titanic Hydra, where his damage gets even larger. And Urgot's one of those champions that doesn't necessarily need to build a Mythic particularly quickly. Hullbreaker is a good item. Titanic Hydra, Black Cleaver, you can build all these things before you even need to think about what Mythic you want to go for. And I would not be surprised if it ended up being some kind of tank Mythic like the Frostfire.
Definitely looking like it could be the play coming in from Concept, especially with all the damage that is going to be mitigated out of both Kenvi and Gomsu if he does so. But like you called out, the Titanic Hydra has been purchased already in his inventory. We keep looking at how this game is going to continue to spell out for both teams. It's only 15 minutes into the game. There's been a lot of action back and forth. Biggest thing for me is even if that 1v1 fight worked out for Concept topside, Kenvi is looking far stronger in this game. This Kane pick, I was questioning it at first. 2-0-2. He's already got a Gore Drinker completed, and that Serrated Dirk is in his inventory compared to Chad only on the Nashers.
This build has not been as popular recently. They nerfed Gore Drinker a while back, but now that we're on 12-3 and the Bruiser items have a new identity, it looks like it's something that they are going to be going for. Is Gomsu.
Yeah, but Gomsu's got to be careful. Daisy bouncing him around, but it's Kenvi that he was trying to set up this entire time. The flash away, that was enough to survive, but there's a flash burn. As Chad now with a level down onto Kenvi. Kenvi could look to continue this fight going, but instead just going to heal up with the Shadow Step.
Lots of damage available to Chad. Now that he has the double enchanters, they should be willing to go for this fight just because it's so difficult to beat Chad. But
Kenvi, he wants the fight. He had to flash away, though. The rocket going wide. The first time we've seen that this game not connect.
Unlucky there. So Kenvi will get out, and there's no shutdown going over to the members of IMT, and they're also getting pulled around the map as they lose a turret. Once again, the mid lane turret going over to 100 Thieves, and Immortals, they are kind of on the back foot at this point, but they always have the arrow in the back pocket. They always have an opportunity to just have an insane team fight where he gets one reset and then kills everybody else because Joey and Pretty make him incredibly strong. They give him basically 2 to 3 times his effective HP.
Well, that's why we were talking about at the very beginning. This composition by IMT is built around Arrow. Getting him to be the true carry for the team, the one that they can put everything, every resource possible into in order to actually win it out. That's why he's even gone for the Kraken Slayer. We see that as, you know, the normal item anyways, but it's even more facilitated here. Not really having to worry about trying to skirt around, move around the fights, because honestly, it's almost like the artillery Kog'Maw kind of build, where you can just stay still and you're getting buffed up by all the members on your team.
I have a clip of me and some friends playing like this exact kind of style, where at the end of it, he's playing Jinx and he gets flipped by Singed into the rest of the team. But we have Lulu, Orianna, and Ivern, and he just stands still and kills the entire enemy team. And I think that's basically what Arrow is looking to be doing this game. Now, obviously, he's a little bit better than my silver friend, but the concept is exactly identical. You just sit there and you hit people over and over again, and you trust everybody else to keep you alive and make sure that you can get your maximum DPS. And now Immortals going to have an opportunity to start up this Rift Herald because the members of 100 Thieves aren't in a position to contest
but
it.
you can tell that they still want to. They got a TP from Gamsu. Concept doesn't have his up yet. It's going to be up just at the nick of time, but it's still going to be a smite fight. Who gets it? Looks like it's going over to Immortals with the Realm Orb on the other side. Jimmy, he's in a bad spot. Has to use the Everfrost to get back towards his team. But this entire time, Concept is not even using the TP. He's staying in the bot lane, waiting it out to see what Immortals want to do, while 100 Thieves have the inside track onto the tier 2 mid.
So the tier 2 mid, I don't think is worth the Rift Herald going over. So Immortals are trying to make something happen, but they don't have engage
but
tools.
Concept has the flank. You could always try to see if you can find that angle onto 100 Thieves, but he'll be spotted out by the control ward, or will he? He was able to skirt around it. They had no idea. Oh, Boostio went wide with it, but the poke coming in from Gamsu is going to force Immortals back towards their base.
Oh, not having the ability to get that fight started is really painful for the members of Immortals. Remember, Chad currently down a clean 36 CS going up against 100 Thieves. And 100 Thieves, with control over the dragon, gonna grab that as well. It's so difficult for 100 Thieves to give over anything because Kenvi is so fast. He can maneuver around all of these fights, and Immortals can't catch him.
And this game is also all around how Kenvi is going to play. Chad last time had everything built around making sure he could succeed. He set up the camp in the bot lane, but this time Kenvi farmed up a bit, then had these ganks work out immaculately. He is sitting still, that 2-0-2 scoreline, but he's got himself that second dragon of the game, the first Infernal Dragon of his teams, as well as having the Serpent's Fang completed to cut through the shielding of Immortals.
I really want to see Joey build a Shurelias in order to fix some of the problems that we're seeing come out from Immortals. They can't catch people, right? They can't run them down. They don't have the speed necessary. They need a little bit more movement speed, and sometimes this is where the Karma becomes the pseudo-engaged champion for a lot of teams. And Joey can do his best Karma cosplay if he builds a Shurelias, but at the current rate, Immortals are just never going to find a fight and get slowly bled to death.
That is looking like a possibility. We're waiting to see how Immortals can fight back. That is one of the difficult things with this composition. It's reliant on how Pretty can play with the rest of his team. If he can land one of those routes so that you have members like Chad, like Concept, follow up afterwards onto crucial targets such as Kenvi or Wixie. If that goes wide, especially with how mobile Kenvi is, not going to be the easiest thing to fall back off of.
Everybody also coming towards the mid lane. Now we're watching to see what kind of Qs Pretty can actually land, and it's just going to be a cleared out Rift Herald just instantly. So Immortals, now they push up, and 100 Thieves not going to be responding whatsoever. Instead, they think they can get more on the side lanes, and I think they're right.
Keep in mind, Josh, they had already gotten 2 turrets mid. That was trading 1 there for the 1 top, and in total, that is a 3-for-1 trade, where the Rift Herald only was able to get the solo, singular Tier 1 mid lane turret. That is a huge win for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, Chad is the only one who could pick up that red buff. Sorry, Concept. It was actually killed by Arrow. So Chad, not going to grab it. I'm not sure if they recognize it immediately, but Concept will have an opportunity. It looks like he is building towards the Frostfire Gauntlet. Get that slow in order to make sure that you have ways to stick to your targets once you actually get onto them in the first place. Immortals, again, same criticism of their draft that I had of 100 Thieves last time. They don't have a way to start fights.
You can see that Kenvi wants to start them. He wants to dive onto these backline members of Immortals, allowing him a lot of wiggle room to move around, not having to worry. This is something we didn't get to talk about earlier on. You look, and I'm glad you brought it up. How do they really start these fights? They don't have the most lockdown potential on their team, outside of Pretty and maybe Concept, but that's all singular target focus. Maybe a wild growth out of Joey, but that's really stretching it if you're using your wild growth as your lockdown tools.
I mean, we saw him do it earlier, right? He got the knock-up, I think it was onto Kenvi and Jimmy, and just, hey, I'm going to flash on you, lock you down, and Jimmy ends up flashing out immediately. But it's an option. The real way, the natural way that you find engages in these kind of positions is reliant on Concept and Chad to go for flanks, and now Concept has not the Frostfire Gauntlet, but instead the Turbo Chem Tank, so he can look for these angles, he can run at people really quickly. But there's a lot of disengage tools, right? Even just the acceleration gate from Jace should be able to get everybody out, and if you throw down the box on top of that, I don't know if there's a way for Concept to just get in running directly as opponents. I still think he needs to find flanks.
Plus, you have a Rune Prison out of Jimian to lock him down for long periods of time. Not the easiest, but you can see how fast he does zoom. He's a pretty speedy little crab there, trying to chase down Gamsu. But the rest of the members of 100 Thieves are here to collapse as well. Gotta be careful. Fear Beyond Death went wide. It's a lot of damage now on to Concept. He's trying to do his best to be able to survive. Here's Pretty with the shield to keep him going. But you gotta keep in mind that the rest of 100 Thieves are right there in the wing to look for this flank. Even with the shields and the flip over the wall,
shields.
not gonna be enough. But they got the lockdown. They might be able to turn this around with Chad being here. They've got the lantern for Jimmy, and he's still alive, but it's gonna be the kill coming in for Pretty. Now the needlework doing a lot of damage to Busio and Wixie. Gotta be careful. Gamsu not gonna be able to take him down. They've got 2 kills out for Chad. They're chasing him down. Wixie's bounced around by Daisy. It's a triple kill coming in from Chad. That's Arrow now excited, chasing down Busio. All the while, Kenvi doing his damnedest to help out the team, but they're losing out everywhere else.
Well, where else is there? That's basically the only place. Kenvi doesn't have a turret to pick up. They already grabbed that. 40 seconds left for Immortals as they look to control this area, but Joey needs to be careful. He's the one that they can attack, and with the Shirelias that he's picked up, they have an opportunity to run the members of 100 Thieves. But we look at a replay Concept. He thinks he's found a 1v1 against Gamsu, and he's right for a little while. But suddenly, as everybody from 100 Thieves joins, we get to see a couple core parts. One, Pretty keeps people alive for super long periods of time. Concept takes forever to die. And 2, once you have the Jinx starting to reset, then you can start chasing a bunch of people down. Chad able to find multiple kills, and I love the fact that he just snipes Gamsu off on the side almost as like a secondary target, and it allows Immortals to have total control of this fight, because once you have the double enchanters online, there are very few champions that can stand up to the raw power that they provide to a single person.
That Rift Maker is now completed for Chad. Even though with this play, the posturing coming in from Immortals, you got to be careful of Kenvi and the amount of damage that he's able to provide for the team.
Yeah, that's 2 W's back-to-back, just basically half healthing Arrow if you don't factor in just the raw amount of healing that Honeyford going. This is the engage.
Chase this down before Kenvi is in a position to be able to counteract it. He's still in the backline. He's looking for Arrow.
Arrow
away from the W so they can re-engage. They've got the lockdown and killing spree coming in from Chad as Kenvi now getting kited back. The excited Arrow looking for the rocket kill. Flashed away by Kenvi. Barely going to be able to survive. But as IMT back onto the objective. A lot of damage still from Arrow on to Gamsu. Looking to see what else they can get. The Arrow has got huge shields. He's essentially got a second health bar, but they got the kill on a Concept. There goes Kenvi. Shut down by Arrow. The chase in from Immortals, keeping this game going, and finally the dragon falls.
Polymorph coming out from Joey, saving the day in that last fight. Oh my gosh, 100 Thieves are now getting it turned on them a little bit. We said that there was always an opportunity for Immortals to come back in this fight as long as they can keep Arrow alive. And when we get the replay, we can get to see how impactful Lulu is during these actual plays. Watch how well they run around and stifle anything that Kenvi wants to do. They go really far forward and they get the first reset. But importantly, after we get the re-engage, after they back out and try and start the dragon, you'll notice a crucial spot. Joey has a no fun button and he presses it on Kenvi, and watch the little squirrel sit here sad because they can't jump on anyone.
That is tragic for poor Kenvi. He'd been doing a great jump prior to that, but then he jumps in and polymorph. What can he do?
Nothing. No fun button. That's why I love this character,
I mean,
man.
I used to play a lot of Lulu mid back when that was a thing, so I completely understand the love for Lulu. As right now, Chad is trying to posture to make sure they can deny this take of Baron under their nose from 100 Thieves, but more so they can get control around the pit, so they can force 100 Thieves into another disadvantageous fight like they did prior.
Yeah. And so, now, as we are back into his position where Immortals feel like they can play the game once again, they need to be careful because Kenvi is still the main character of this game. But he's got a rival for the first time. We get to see the Lancer come in. We get to see the foil to Kenvi, and it is Arrow. Right? Arrow now has the support of everybody on his team, and watch him chase this guy down.
He's just going to spear Jimmy, and while Kenvi on the other side looking for Pretty does get the kill. 1 for 1, mid lane for mid lane, and now Kenvi is in a bad spot. Has to run away. Needlework not going to be able to connect. Kenvi's doing his damnedest to make sure that he can dodge away from all the members of IMT. He's going to be spotted out. W not connecting. He goes inside the base of Immortals. This is a long chase, and look at where Concept is. He's trying to cut off the path for Kenvi to be able to get out of this fight. All the while, Kenvi is doing his damnedest to get towards Gamsu, but eventually the Shadow Step is going to end. He's been focused out, he's been spotted out, the damage coming in, and there's Arrow to make sure they can clean up house.
Oh man, they finally got him. It took them a long time, but the jungler being dead and the enchanters coming back up pretty will be back up in 5 seconds means that Immortals beelining towards the Baron. They want to use this window where the other main character is off the map. They have the damage necessary and they are so healthy while they do this. The shield's just coming through, make sure that Arrow will never be alone. So both teams bring everyone to bear because this could make or break the game.
We're going to have a 4v5 fight. With the TP that came in from Jimmy, Gomsu's on the side. It's down to 25% health, but nobody wants to get into the pit just yet. Maybe they can get a YOLO shock blast from Gomsu. Looked for it, but he couldn't get it. It's smite secure for Chad, while the rest of 100 Thieves run for the hills.
Immortals, they do grab the Baron, and so they're finally back to a position where it's only about 2,500 gold between the two teams. Well, what else are they going to be able to get with this? They can start looking towards the mid lane. And again, they do have some troubles with this composition. They do have some issues running at people and can be going to be poking at them from the sides for every single time they leave their base. So watch them group up, watch them create a lot of safety. And now that we're at the point of the game where he should feel strong enough to do it, watch Arrow with his Bloodthirster starting to frontline these fights as the one person who can stand towards the front of the fight because he knows that the rest of his team is going to keep him safe.
Look at the inventories for his double enchanters. Redemption, Moonstone, Geraldas. They got so much. And look at this. He's got a massive shield on top of him so they can easily chunk out Jimmy in.
There's so much pressure on Kenvi now as the one who is holding the Serpent's Fang in order to prevent IMT from just allowing Arrow to play like this. Look, they don't care. They don't care about the dragon that's spawning in a minute. They don't need to get vision for it just quite yet. They're going to bully their way in later. And Wixie,
yeah, it took a lot of damage there. Kenvi is still looking to be able to get this flank off. He wants to dive onto someone like Pretty and Joey to deny the shields onto Arrow, but Arrow is still frontlining this entire time. He is not threatened by the members of 100 Thieves.
Okay, but the other members are Arrow. He's really far forward, but he needs to make sure everybody else is going to be safe. Arrow, look at the damage he can do, and he's so safe, he's so fast!
He doesn't give a damn! He's playing like the frontliner. Now Jimmy, it could be the focus onto him. You gotta be careful still, because they don't have concept in the area at the moment. So IMT, even if they have that advantage, they have the double enchanters for Arrow. They gotta be careful, because this is not a fight they want to take just yet.
Okay, they're instead looking to fight Concept. He's a lot easier to fight.
It's going to take a damn long time. They've lost the inhibitor in the mid lane. Look at how much damage Concept can do back. He pulls him back in.
He gets him!
3 Concept turns it around. Even with an Umbral Trespass, Kenby could not do it. Dad now into the back line, diving the turrets. Finally, he's silenced, but it's going to still be the fight going over to Immortals as they've taken them all down.
Immortals coming back in. They have the double enchanter comp. There's nothing 100 Thieves can do. They don't have the damage. And Arrow sitting there taking the turret and laughing because Kenvy's the only person left alive.
Immortals, what a statement game here. They've been struggling since week 1. The massive downward spiral they had, 1-7, denied here, even if they got the kill onto Arrow at the very end. 100 Thieves will fall 2-0 to Immortals. This is the redemption arc, baby. They're back.
Oh boy, 4-0, 1-7, 2-0. Suddenly coming through, Immortals are now coming out with the redemption arc, and I am here for it. But again, apologies to 100 Thieves fans. Maybe talk to Kelsey Moser and stop scheduling me for the 100 Thieves games, because I have now casted all of their losses. Get Cubby on there. Make sure that we can get some wins back into this team, because I don't know what happened. Nobody was expecting Immortals to actually win this series going up against 100 Thieves.
Maybe you are the jinx, and you're going to get called out by Golden Mom on Twitter, possibly. Golden Glue's mom, one of my favorite people out there. But
sorry.
Honestly, looking at this game, there's so much that we can praise on Immortals' side as well. The fact that they clearly have learned from the Church of LS, have drafted the Ivern in both games, and both times have built up this entire composition where they don't necessarily need to do anything mid and top. It allows Chad so much time in the early game to either farm up as he did in this game or to look for plays as he did in the previous game, while also building up Arrow to be this hyper-scaling ADC.
And I love the fact that Immortals are showing different styles of gameplay. It's not just we played the Chad show like in game 1. This time it was entirely different. Chad participated. He was definitely in the game, but it was really about Arrow. Arrow was the one who was looking really strong, and we said at the very beginning, there's a lot of pressure on this guy. Not only is he the bulk of their damage, there's just not a lot of ways to get fights started. He really just needs to run at people and use the fact that he's never going to die in order to create pressure on the map. And once he started doing that, 100 Thieves were not ready to react to it, and Kenby, unfortunately, on this Kayn, was not able to lock down the one person he needed.
It's one of those compositions where you see how it functions, the disengage, re-engage that they're capable of. And the fact that it's almost like the ebb and flow. They see that 100 Thieves come into them, they absorb all that pressure, and then they throw it right back. That's the best way to be able to have some lockdown, is make sure they're running at you first.
Yeah, well, there we have it, right? Engage tools are incredibly important, and if you don't have any, you're susceptible to team compositions like this that are just able to hit you from a long way away. So congratulations to Immortals on a 2-0 huge upset victory, and hopefully we'll get to see even more success coming out from you from the
And
rest
I'm
of Super
hoping
Week.
so as well. As we're going to toss to a break, when we come back, we'll have our lovely host of Vassell with an interview, so make sure you stay tuned.
From the hell still lives hold, grows heck from the doubt of my mind. From the voice still screaming out why. Didn't do what you done, did you think I was gonna stay quiet? Not in my life. 'Cause I'm an animal, I come back like a storm. Gonna break through the doubt that you've been putting on me. 'Cause I won't stop till I know that I won. Gonna take back the things that I won. Don't you tell me that you think that I won. 'Cause I'm never gonna stop, I'm never gonna stop, I'm never give up. So don't you tell me when you think that I'm done. And now the touch that I came from, and the pain that keeps keeping me strong, and the hurt that you cause in my soul, better count on the seconds you go, for you're nothing but a memory gone, nothing but gone. 'Cause I'm an animal, I come back like a storm. Gonna break through the doubt that you've been putting on me. 'Cause I won't stop till I know that I won. Gonna take back the things that I won. Don't you tell me that you think that I won. 'Cause I'm never gonna stop, I'm never gonna stop, I'm never give up. So don't you tell me when you think that I'm So I won't stop till I know that I won. Don't you tell me that you think that I'm wrong. 'Cause I'm never gonna stop, I'm never gonna stop, I'm never give up.
Welcome back, everyone. I am joined by Immortals Progressives Academy, Chad Jungle, just the Chad in his own right. I gotta ask, you're not wearing church wear. I thought the whole team got like licensed church wear from Cloud9 or something. Where is it?
It must be in the mail because
Oh, okay, yeah,
that
yeah,
church
yeah.
hat definitely feels good.
I gotta ask, man. 2 games of Ivern, enabling yourself, enabling Arrow. Is that just the bread and butter way to play it now for Immortals Progressive?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a way to play it. We were thinking about doing it at the start of the day. We really weren't sure, but honestly, like Pretty's Ivern is just too good, so there's no way not to pick it. You know?
Oh, there were so many close moments. It was absolutely insane. For Enchanter gameplay, it never been closer to the edge of your seat there. Chad, I want to check in with you. It has been a little bit rough for the squad over the last weeks. You guys seemed like an absolute different beast today. What was the difference from last week? What was the turnaround for you guys and personally for you?
Well, I'd say last week was pretty unfortunate. We had a really good early games last week, just like we had today.
Did.
But we kind of like choked in some important moments and it didn't really go through. So we kind of like refocused on just playing our game and not like getting too excited, not getting too frantic, just doing what we know we have to do in the game plan. And when we all kind of like settled down, we kind of just went back to winning early game and then trying to transition as much as we can.
Yeah, I can completely. I see that. The communication just seems a little bit more clear for you guys. Have you guys been doing any team bonding, any outside like curricular activities, extracurriculars, I guess?
Well, yeah, the guys in the gym like to go to the gym a lot, and
Okay.
as you could see, right? And then I don't know. I mean, I think we're all getting along. I think after we got 0-4'd, we kind of like we like dug our heads in the sand and kind of realized like okay, like it's not working out. We gotta like play a little better, focus up a little more as a team, and we kind of just been getting along really well since then. And yeah.
That's really good. When things start to kind of fall into place, it all feels a lot more comfortable. Speaking of comfort, I read on our survey that you want to be a chef someday. What is your go-to dish? What will be your signature dish if you are that chef?
Signature dish. I'm not sure about signature, but I do make a mean steak. So I would
Ooh,
probably,
hey, you've
just,
already got
just to
my
start-
ears perked up.
Yeah, there's a bit of a joke with me and my friends and about making steak at 2 a.m. Hashtag Luger. But yeah, I'd say cooking is always just something I enjoy doing. So
I always love to see the players' hobbies outside of just being Chad gamers, especially you, Chad. So, I will say there was a specific part of the player survey that kind of melted my heart. The fact that you have a lot of the same favorite bands as me. One that stuck out to me: Red Hot Chili Peppers. Have you got a chance to listen to any of their new stuff at all?
honestly, recently I've not been listening to any like new music, but I
Okay.
wouldn't be surprised if it's really good.
Yeah, I'm a big RHCP softie. So when I saw that, I was like, I gotta ask him about it. Like, I don't know if anybody else will know what I'm talking about, but I appreciate it. Well,
Yeah.
one question for you, Chad. The most important. You've probably seen me asking this to some players, but what is your animal to go on the tier list? Your favorite animal?
My favorite animal is hands down cats. Cats are the best.
Oh my God, we got so
It's
many
actually the
cats and
same
dogs.
answer as yeah. I mean, same answer as Arrow, and as Arrows would say, cat no poo poo. So it makes life a lot easier. And I don't know, cats are just
The
great.
synergy,
They're the
man.
softest. Yeah, yeah. There you go. The synergy.
That's amazing. I love it. Well, I want to give you one last moment. Give any shout outs. Anybody you want to talk about here before we let you go, Chad?
Well, the sponsors. We got Progressive.
Of
We got
course,
Bud
of
Light.
course.
We got all the boys, right? I'd say just friends and family. Thanks for supporting me, all my roommates. And yeah, thanks for watching us.
Hey, Chad, take it easy, man. Get right back to it tomorrow and keep up the good work. Thank you so much for sitting in with me.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to bring back in our shoutcasters of the day. We've got Joshi and Magical rejoining us to wrap up the day. And fellas, very interesting from Chad. The mental is strong. The synergies are built, or at least starting to be built.
I was really impressed with how they were able to play today. I was not expecting IMT to come out swinging against these guys, but it was such a strong performance from them across the board. And now that they're going to be going up against a couple of other strong teams like Cloud9, we said TL was the litmus test, and now if Immortals can play like this, it might be another tough week for Cloud9 as well, as we start to see more teams embrace the strategies and embrace new opportunities to play and really take Cloud9 strategies and use it against them.
I'm still waiting to see the church outfit for IMT. I do want to go ahead and bring up the clips of the day. I want to run through the action, the plethora of shenanigans that we had today, because there's 3 full series and they were all chock full of action.
We started off, right, with a really interesting series where it's like, first series, Dignitas were...
Oh, I thought Magical might be talking, might be muted.
I think they could hear me on stream,
back.
but I don't think you guys could. So I think what I was saying is it started off with a really interesting series where Dignitas were able to take a convincing game 1, then game 2, and EG. The second series is where things really started to go absolutely bananas.
Yeah, I agree. Just like watching Team Liquid versus Cloud9 play, I knew it was going to be one of the higher level games and series that we watch, and I think it really lived up to that, seeing how effectively both teams were able to play at different points, and we got to see glimpses of brilliance from both sides. At the end of the day, though, Cloud9 did a good job at pulling Team Liquid apart and getting access to the backline, and even with this incredible play from Jan where he stayed alive the entire time, there was just too much ripping and pulling coming out from the side of Cloud9 for him to do anything.
And I think Malice for me was so terrifying, especially the he tweeted out saying, his Evelyn is rusty. If that's rust, I don't want to see what it like. I'm terrified. Like, that was scary. And then the fact that they were able to come into the game too and kind of represent that same way. Now to the final game or final series of the day, this one a little bit less breakneck, I feel like, but still great nonetheless.
It was definitely a very different style of series from everything that we'd been seeing previously. And again, I want to give praise to Immortals for being able to play multiple styles in the same day. That's not something that a lot of Academy rosters can pull off, and seeing them play 1 to Chad and 2 to Arrow in a very different way is going to give them a lot of freedom to throw people off during the draft, because other teams won't know what strategies IMT wants to play.
No, I will say, the fact they played Ivern in both those games, it kind of allowed them to be able to do that, though. It allowed them, since it had... I mean, sure, the first game wasn't a double enchanter, but they had an enchanter and a support, an engaged support.
Yeah.
That second game, they pretty much didn't need to engage. They had this composition with the double enchanters that forced 100 Thieves to constantly have to play into them, which meant they didn't have to worry about engaging.
That 1v3 at the end there by Concept 2 and the engage. Oh my god, it's just dirty. Magnifique. Oh my god, Joshi, you're gonna win by heart. Wait, I don't know why we're speaking French. I don't know what you're talking about. At what point is
crazy.
I feel like the veil is already gone, but I'm just gonna keep trying for it. I do want to go ahead and bring up the schedule now, at least the updated version of the schedule, to kind of go over the games we got to see today and the ones that we did not get to see that were on stream too. FlyQuest 2-0, baby. I'm just saying, I hear a lot of doubters in our story talks. I hear a lot of shenanigans being thrown around. I'm the only one that's going green. And 2-0, not too shabby. Just saying,
what about Josh over here?
You're looking good. You're looking good, kid.
I also want to shout out Golden Guardians taking a 1-1 up against CLG, the current top team for the Academy League. Any wins you can take off of CLG right now is really impressive, and Golden Guardians wasn't a team that I wasn't necessarily expecting to do it at this point, but props to them, because they still have a lot more games to play, and any kind of momentum you can take into the rest of Super Week is going to be incredibly helpful.
It's a very interesting start of the day. We do want to go ahead and bring up tomorrow's schedule though, so we can get a look and a peek at what we have coming up on the same time, same place tomorrow, as we will have 3 series again here on twitch.tv/academy. The IMT Progressive taking on C9 Academy in our first game of the day, series of the day. EGA taking on 100 Thieves Academy in our second, and TSM Academy taking on Golden Guardians as our final series on stream A, at least. And then we're going to look at stream B as well and bring up these matches. You got TLA taking on FlyQuest Academy. FlyQuest, hey, looking for a continued strong start to the Super Week. It's CLG. Need to make up some ground against Dignitas Quantipe Academy.
Can I say that there's two series tomorrow that are really interesting on both streams? The first one for the Academy stream, that C9 versus Immortals, especially after what we saw from Immortals today. Gotta be hyped for what we can see tomorrow if they're going to continue to be the Church 9 but in Immortals skin, or if Cloud9 knows how to play against that style. And then the last one, TLG versus Dignitas.
Yeah.
That one's going to be a really exciting one as well.
I also got to say, we have a couple of surprise guests coming on tomorrow to actually help
Yeah.
us cast out. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of stories they're going to be bringing towards the rest of Academy. And hopefully, I mean, everybody who's watching, just know I'm not on 100 Thieves tomorrow. So
we got
gonna
some
be okay.
LCS reinforcements coming in for that one to make sure we bolster the ranks for Super Weekend. Very exciting to have some guests come on tomorrow. Make sure you stay tuned for that. But fellas, that's it for the day. Everything is done. We're ready to go on to day 2 of week number 4, our first Super Week of Academy Spring 2022. We're going to send it off for the night, but be here same time, same place tomorrow for more Academy action.